I could hear a whooshing sound coming towards me.
Next thing I know, I feel like I've been punched in the face.
We turned the key in the door to the phone ringing.
And blood was streaming everywhere.
It was a call from one of our neighbours' sons.
It felt like a lump of concrete being slammed into the side of my face.
He'd been bottled.
I'd been cut from the front of my nose all the way to the back.
Brought my hands down. I remember looking at my hands and thinking, there's blood coming from my face.
It was a repeated and sustained attack.
So much blood was streaming everywhere.
It was just complete carnage.
And I remember just pleading with them just to get me to the hospital. The pain was so intense.
I was just completely scared.
My first concern was losing my job.
I don't want to be reminded of that night. It's just a constant thing in my face. I can't look in the mirror without seeing it.
This family really has been, and I won't say to hell and back because we're not quite back yet.
It was New Year's Eve. This group of guys came and were across the table from us, just in their group. And one of the guys sat on the table and just spilled drinks all over me. And he looked round, saw what he'd done, didn't apologise. So my boyfriend tapped him on the back and said, will you watch what you're doing? And he turned around and was like, oh yeah, sorry. And that was fine. But then his friend turned around and got involved. And my boyfriend had just bought a drink from the bar, and this guy just tipped up the drink for no reason whatsoever. And some boyfriend picked it up and said, well, are you going to get me another one then? And this guy apparently looked like he was about to kill him. So he put out his hand to shake his hand and started saying, look, it's New Year, just leave it. And the original guy who'd sat on the table just swiped all the glasses off the table, which cut all down my arm. I could just feel like shards going into me. And then next thing I know, I feel like I've been punched in the face and blood was streaming everywhere. But I didn't quite understand how I'd have been punched in the face from that distance or anything, so I thought I'd broken my nose and I was screaming and everything. I just started to panic, I didn't know what was happening. Blood was, so much blood was streaming everywhere, and I was just completely scared because no one would tell me what was happening. I thought I'd been punched in the nose, and then my boyfriend said I had a little cut. And, well, when he said I had a little cut, I thought it might be a little shard of glass or something that splintered off. When my dad said it actually cut through my nose, then it must have been a pretty big glass, and then the doctors confirmed that and said that it had to be a big chunk with some force behind it. I cried pretty much on and off for the next week or so. I didn't know what was going to happen with the scar. I googled just about every site possible. I googled plastic surgery, scar revision, things that had happened similar to this, and I knew that I was going to end up with a scar. I'm still a bit upset with it. I've come to terms with the fact I've got a scar on my face now, but I still don't want it there. I'm seeing a plastic surgeon at the end of the year to see what he can do, and then if I need to pay money, then I just want it removed off my face, because every time I want to go out to a bar or something and see my friends, I have to put makeup on to cover it up, and then that reminds me last time I went out, then this happened to me. So I just don't want to be reminded of it. I've come from being such a confident person. I was probably too confident and big-headed, and it just knocked me completely back, so it's just gradually building up every little bit. Then it just helps me a little bit more to get back to myself. That one's after I'd been out and I've got all my makeup on, and if you go like that, I look pretty much normal. You go like that and it's disgusting and bloody and it's horrible. No one should have to go through what I went through. I was just on a night out having fun, and it was used as a weapon. It's almost as if you're giving out knives at a bar, because they can be smashed and be as sharp as knives. It's just stupid. People say, oh, beer tastes different out of plastic and whatever, but in that case, go to a little local pub where there's not been any trouble, and yeah, they can still use them. But in bars like I've been to where these things happen, I think it's ridiculous that they can still use glasses.
It was a call from one of our neighbours' sons to say that Blake had been in an accident and he'd been bottled, and that's all we knew, and he was on his way to the hospital. So we immediately just raced up to the hospital. We got there before the ambulance, When Blake arrived, we didn't actually see him. It was a repeated and sustained attack, and he was in a really bad way. So all we saw were doctors and nurses just running back and forth, and they'd got blood down them. They were footprints of blood on the floor. So you can imagine what was going through our mind. We were told it was touch and go. He'd lost 4 pints of blood, and they needed to get him into surgery, but they needed to try and stabilise him first. They pulled the curtains to one side, and it was horrific. He was taken for 4 hours of surgery. He had to be completely cleaned up, which is quite meticulous because there are tiny splinters of glass. So that all had to be cleaned. Because his wounds were so deep, because a broken glass cuts just as deeply as a knife, he had to be stitched inside and outside. He received 50 external stitches. I don't know how many inside. I'm assuming probably just as many inside. What happened to Blake has had a tremendous negative impact on just about every aspect of his life. Relationships, he would say to me, I look in the mirror, Mum, and I see a monster looking back at me. I can't believe that we are still selling drinks, a mind-altering substance, in what is potentially a weapon. To everybody that walks through the door of a late-night bar and a nightclub, they all stand there with a potential weapon in their hand. I came across these polycarbonate glasses, and I also saw that there was a PET version of the alcohol in bottles, sold in bottles. I was quite astounded that this was available and wasn't really being promoted on a major scale. I have spoken, in the course of this campaign, I have spoken to thousands of people, and many of those have been the young people that actually go to these venues. And the overriding message that we get is that actually they would feel safer in a glass-free venue. As with just about every parent on the planet, our kids are our whole reason for being. And I can't think that somebody nearly took him away from me that night.
We were going to a blue light or a shout of a fight in progress. I'd taken about 5 steps into the bar towards the bar staff, and I could hear a whooshing sound coming towards me, and what felt like a lump of concrete being slammed into the side of my face. I don't remember anything until sort of being on the floor on my knees, and having my hands sort of cupping my face. I brought my hands down. I remember looking at my hands and thinking, there's blood coming from my face. As I got out of the pub, other colleagues had actually turned up and were running towards us, and I could see by their expressions, they could see, I'd been badly injured. It was about sort of 30 stitches, but on the outside, but obviously they had to stitch from the inside as well, and all the preparations before that. But obviously during that time I realised that something had happened to my left eye. It felt like there was a whirling blade going within my eye, so it was sort of making me quite disorientated, and that's when they obviously realised that I should go to the eye hospital. I've come to terms with the injuries. I live on a knife edge, if you like, in the fact that my eye has been damaged to the point that I have a scarred retina. It's aged my vascular jelly to the point that I could wake up one morning and my vision will have gone. I have a constant shadow in my left eye, and at night I get white strobe lights in my eye. I was off work for 11 weeks. I could have been off for longer, but I chose to go back to work after 11 weeks because I knew my confidence would be waning. And if I didn't get back and do the job I love, I was given the chance of being able to go back and be an operational police officer. And if I hadn't gone back then, I don't think I could have gone back at all as a frontline police officer. People are still using glass in pubs and things like that. I'm amazed. They can be used in any sort of way, in the fact that they're going to be smashed, and then you've got jagged edges, and the injuries that they can cause are horrendous. Well, the polycarbonate sort of glasses that have now coming out onto the market, I think are a great idea. They can't be smashed, they can't be used as a weapon, and I think if people got used to using those sorts of things, it's not going to be at the front of their mind to first thing to smash or chuck or whatever. Anybody thinking of using glass as a weapon, I would say don't, because it can maim, it can kill. The force of some of the glasses and the hefty side of the glasses, the glass that hit me had a solid bottom, hence the mark on my face, it is like the bottom of a glass. It could kill somebody. A bang on the head can kill somebody.